Aldi and Trader Joe's are not technically competitors. The Aldi we have in America is part of a company called Aldi Süd, which is southern
Food.
Germany and Austria. Austria is actually the first place I ever encountered Aldi back in the early 90s when I lived there. It was called Hofer at that point, Hofer. And then Aldi Nord, which is sort of like another company, is but owned by the other brother. So it was a family business, and the brothers sort of split the company. So Aldi Nord is, Aldi again. And then, but in America, they, I think, bought a little tiny company called Trader Joe's. And so Aldi
Correct.
Nord is now Trader Joe's across the country instead of having to call it Aldi South and Aldi North.
But you know the difference between the two? It was a split from the brothers?
Yeah, it's two different
What?
brothers.
No, one decided to sell cigarettes,
Oh, yeah.
and the
Yeah.
other did not.
Oh.
So,
Valley-based business. Woo.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't take much to like cause a family split.
split the family.
Yeah. So we were just talking about Aldi because as our 100th episode, I agreed to drink during the day. And Aldi sells, a lot of companies sell them now, but Aldi sells these like Advent calendars of beer and Advent calendars of wine. And this year, I think they also had one for like seltzer. So as it happened, I have a lot of beer cans in the house, and this one every day is like a different flavor, and this one is just called Scottish Ale. And I don't they have these labels that are like around, there's like a plastic label on it. So probably if I could figure out how to peel this off, it would have either no label underneath it or a different label altogether.
It's all Pabst Blue Ribbon. All of it.
Pabst. No, it's
PBR.
Lone Star from Texas.
Yeah.
They consider that to be swill. No Texan would drink Lone Star.
No.
Bad stuff. They had great commercials, though. Giant Armadillo. They had a guy named Cooter who used to drive the truck, and this giant armadillo would destroy his truck trying to get at the Lone Star beer.
But
it was
well,
bad stuff.
I should start off by saying thanks, everybody, especially you guys. That's a lot of videos. When we started this, John and I started this in March. And at one point in the beginning, for the first month or so, to get into the habit of going live a lot, we went live every single weekday for at least a month, maybe two. By the way, that's how you get to 100 episodes between March and November. Actually, we hit 99 in October. This is, I think, our first one in November because we were out last week. So yeah, we were just cranking them out, and we started off with like various different topics around creativity and business models and just whatever we could come up with. And then eventually, other folks blessed us and came in and made it better. And then we ended up with like more of a structured thematic approach, social media on Tuesdays, website and live copywriting on Wednesdays. Thursday is sort of like, sometimes we had a guest, sometimes it was more of an intellectual topic. And then we would just repeat Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for a long time. And now that we've hit 100, we're actually in talks, the four of us, on how we're going to go forward and what we're going to change and what the new themes are going to be.
We're in talks? Is this like the UN or something?
Yeah, it's a summit. Summit for what to do.
I want the table. The shape of the table should be round.
Yes.
It would be the Knights of the Round Table. All right. So what are we talking about today other than the centennial?
We don't have to talk about anything other than 100 videos, and I'm going to go ahead and have a sip of this beer.
You drink. So
I've opened it, but I haven't had any.
Okay. There is historic precedent here because John and I, in March of 2020, started doing live streams together, and we did them every single day, including Saturday, Sunday, for 5 or 6 weeks. And that's how we developed a certain rapport and doing it. Yeah. John got tired. So did I, actually.
But it was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
And Heather, you're always doing like actual, like what I would call real events, right? You have guests, you have like, how many do you do in a month, do you think? Or a year?
I quit doing my LinkedIn lives because they tanked my distribution. It was bad for my LinkedIn profile. But if you think about the co-working sessions that I host, I've been, which you don't have to talk the whole time, right?
Right.
But you do intro, you do break, you keep the conversation going. So lives for me, not a big deal because I just kind of do it every week for 3 years now or something like that,
Yeah.
where you're kind of a little bit on stage and talking to other people and connecting with other people. So, and then I've been a speaker previously and whatever, it just is not, it was not new to me. So, yeah. So I'm fairly comfortable with it. Made an ass of myself enough times that, it's not going to kill me.
Nope. Yep. So
just
I'm
make
just
you stronger.
curious. I've never asked. So for instance, Heather, like what camera do you use and where is it?
I use the camera that's in my iMac.
Okay.
And it's at the top of the screen.
So a desktop.
Right up there.
So one of the big
desktop.
monitor.
Yep.
2,700 pound.
I think it's not that heavy. It's actually pretty light, but
yeah,
it's a fairly new one. I bought it at the beginning of last year. No, this year. Okay. What year is it? 2022. I bought it at the end of last year, I think.
Okay. And what about you, John? What are you using?
I usually use my C920 Logitech, but today.
So that's one of the external ones that you mount on top of a monitor.
One of the external ones that I mount on the monitor. Today I'm using my integrated one in my laptop because I didn't have time to get the other one set up. I went to vote this morning. And I'm looking to get a 4K camera. So in the next couple of weeks or so, I'll be making that move.
Isn't all of the streaming services sort of maxed out for the most part for live? Don't they all max out at 1080? Like, won't it just downsample the 4K into 1080?
For the most part, but I need it for other stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. And what about you, Dr. V?
Hey, so I actually have my 2009 iMac sitting here. It still works, but barely. I need to put a little more RAM in there. But I'm using the MacBook Pro camera. They call it the FaceTime camera, if you will. Right. I do have two other cameras, but I just find that I haven't been able to adjust some of the white balance and other things like that. They always illuminate me far beyond reality, such that I look like a specter from maybe.
Well, my camera, most of the time, I have two cameras on tripods. I wish there was a way to show you guys what they are. So I have two cameras on tripods. They're about 6 feet away from me, and they're each they each have sort of a teleprompter set up. So you buy these non-powered teleprompters on Amazon for like $150, $200. Basically, it's just a plastic plate that holds an iPad. The iPad screen is facing up towards the ceiling, and then there's a one-way mirror that comes in at like an angle, and then the camera is back here and shoots through the mirror, so that if I'm using a teleprompter, which I used to use all the time, the entire time I have this set up, the fact that both of these cameras are so far away from me and they're both on teleprompter rigs is just because I never did anything live. Like I did for years and years, every single word and pause and and repeated sentence, literally everything was scripted right down to the comma.
Mm-hmm.
And you scripted your ums and ands
and commas
and commas. If I repeated a phrase in the video, it's because it was in the teleprompter and I had written it twice on purpose.
Oh my God.
It was like, right. And so I didn't bother to disassemble any of that. In fact, I used the teleprompter this morning on one of the cameras. It was the first time in a really long time. It's because I made the promo for the next big event, for my November event. It's going to happen on the last day of November. And I needed to record just a 1 minute promo. And I had that scripted because I had a lot to say in a very short time. I didn't want any ahs or ums or whatever, just go. But so I have a pretty big monitor, like a 40-inch or so monitor right here, but it's out of frame. Like you can't see it when I'm set up like this. It's really big. It takes up a big chunk of the table, but it's just a monitor. And the camera's all over here, which means that all the time that I spend looking at you guys, I don't actually see anybody. I'm looking at a mirror that's pointed down at enough of an angle so that I spend all day looking at a snake pit of cables on top of the rug with a mixer and a Blackmagic ATEM Mini Pro device down there. And there's a blue Ethernet cable. I stare at that mess of cables all day.
It's like a digital Medusa. I'm surprised you haven't turned to stone from that digital Medusa.
No,
no kidding.
So in fact, I'm so accustomed to it that I have to remember once in a while to look at the screen over here. Like when I look over here, that's the screen, so that I can, see if someone's showing me something or whatever. But I'm just I mean, I look into a mirror and see nothing, not even myself because it's angled, so I don't even
It's
see my own
interesting.
face.
I've
But
often
I always
wondered.
want to look at the camera, and I want to make sure that to the audience and to any guest, they understand that I'm paying attention. And they're like, there's nothing on this. I'm not looking at a screen, so there's literally nothing to distract me. I'm listening to what you guys say.
Well, because I've always wondered, why is he looking over towards his right all the time? Are we that boring? So
And then I also have this one. You can sort of see it. I have
Now
a
you know.
MacBook Pro here, which is like my secondary when I'm doing these kind of things. And sometimes
okay.
I'll use it for sharing a screen or whatever. But no, it's an enormous monitor, but you can't see it. It's pushed just out of frame. If I moved it even
Mm.
a quarter of an inch, you would see the white trim of the bezel on it.
Ooh.
Mm.
Bezel
And
me
that's
up.
my setup. And once it was like dialed in, I never change it. Right. I come down here and I've got it all hooked up to like an Alexa type device, the one that Google makes. And I just tell Google to turn on like my studio, and all the lights and cameras and everything, they all come up in order. And then when I walk away from here, as I walk, I say like, okay, Google, and then like turn it off, and it all like gets powered down. So I don't have to touch anything, which for me is kind of the way it needs to be, because it needs to be super easy because I do it so often.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can like be live streaming within a minute. But even before I get down the stairs, because this is like a basement studio, there's no natural air here. So just as I'm coming down the stairs, I'll tell Google start turning everything on, and then I sit down here and I just like click 2 things and I'm on.
That's great in terms of automation. Hey, speaking of other things, does this Restream thing default always to making you the big head?
No, well, it has been lately, right? It shouldn't.
Yeah.
It should do that.
Ah, here we are.
Yeah.
For whatever
Now we
reason,
can see
it
Heather's
never
face.
seems to remember the set. I keep setting it to this. It never remembers the setting afterwards. I apologize for that.
I see.
No problem. It seemed like there were different settings and phenomena that occurred. So
yeah, I don't know why it used to remember whatever setting we used last, and now it doesn't anymore. Restream's been an interesting experience this year.
Mm.
Hey,
right?
are we
fix some problems?
Okay, but are we broadcasting on the platform of which we shall not speak?
Yes.
Okay. No, just curious.
Yes, we are live on LinkedIn right now and YouTube and Facebook. Me. And here's the thing, though. This is so silly, right? Because because LinkedIn is very Fight Clubby about stuff, and you're not allowed to talk about LinkedIn on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
That means that my November 30th event, where I talk about the whole system and prospecting process that I have, which reaches out to people on LinkedIn, and it gives away stuff and invites people to stuff. I actually can't do, and I'm not doing that event on LinkedIn.
Oh, that's
so
a good one.
It's being streamed on YouTube to tell people how to use LinkedIn to help find, during this multi-step process, how to find prospects and get people on your calendar and ultimately sign clients.
Smart move.
So I can't do it on LinkedIn, even though a lot of it is about LinkedIn.
It's the one thing I love about YouTube is they're relatively agnostic. You can talk about anything. Anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it does seem silly. Like I actually have a LinkedIn event, so you can go and register for the event, but on the day you'll actually go to YouTube to watch it live.
Right. Yeah, I've done that before. Put the YouTube link in there and send people.
I'll put the YouTube link in at the last minute because I never liked it when people would invite me to an event. You get these invitations. Come see our LinkedIn Live event, blah, blah. It's not actually LinkedIn Live. And then there's like a Zoom link, and you have to click on the Zoom link. That takes you out to another page, and then you have to register again.
Yep.
And then that's like already like 4 minutes past the hour, and you're like, I'm going to give this 1 minute. And if it's not amazing, I'm out. I'm already behind, right? So
at least like getting everything recorded. I want the recorded version afterwards so that I can watch it in 2x speed.
Yeah,
the visual
2x is great. Great time saver.
They all offer that now, right? Don't they? I don't know if LinkedIn lets you watch the replay at a different speed than just normal. YouTube does.
I think they want you to linger there forever.
Yeah. Yes,
you can watch it at 2x speed. I'm pretty sure once it's
on LinkedIn.
Recorded.
You can definitely do it on LinkedIn. I mean, on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
I think you can do it on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
I'm remembering correctly.
And you can definitely do it on Facebook.
That prospecting process, I mean, granted, it took me a long time to dial that in and stumble on some of it. but that has been nuts. And I want to thank you guys again, especially Dr. V, Heather for promoting it, and Dr. V and John for the September one, especially. I'm still dining off the September one.
You're dining off of September.
I sign a new client since the day after we did the workshop, the positioning workshop. I signed a new client every 4 days.
Wow.
Not 4 business days. Every 4 calendar days, I've
days.
signed a new client. And the way that my business is set up, clients pay and then I do the work, which means I'm getting paid every 4 days and then doing work for people.
How awesome
this
is
whole
that?
process has been nuts.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I couldn't be more excited for you. Honestly.
It's great when you especially Heather and I talked about this because one of the social media days is that it's like I finally found a way to use social media that worked for me, because I kept trying all these different things and none of it worked. Right. And Heather would point out every time Heather would point out someone who was doing really well, I'm like, what the hell? What about me? What am I doing wrong here? Why is this not clicking with me? But social media, a platform is kind of like a map, and you can come into it from just about any direction.
You certainly can. And
you have to find your direction that works for you. And once I found that, it's like, man, it's just
and works for the people that you want to connect with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you look at it in hindsight, it makes perfect sense that this would be the direction you would go.
Right. So, you want to start with your strength. I call it your content power zone. What's the way you're meant to communicate with the world? Start there. You can always chop that up and repurpose it and whatever. Yeah. But if you're a thought leader, then it's got to come from you genuinely, and it should come in the way that you want to communicate it. And then if people want to hear it differently or whatever, then you upload it to Descript and have a blog article written and take it from there. Right. But your own voice should come through your own voice.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm a thought leader or even thoughtful, but I have a lot of thoughts, and I have no problem giving them away.
You're full of Scottish ale right now.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's so weird. It's interesting. I was just reading something about LinkedIn and said the reason that they give. We're not supposed to talk about that. Oh, sorry.
Right.
Anyway, the reason that a platform gives for not allowing recorded video is to maintain trust with your followers. We discourage streaming pre-recorded content.
Yeah.
You don't want to break trust.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, I think that's crap. If you did a really good job of it, right, and you wanted to script it and whatever, why not restream pre-recorded content? Is it providing value? And who are you to tell me what provides value to my folks?
Right.
So
I think Netflix streams pre-recorded content.
They definitely do. And the funny thing is, I think what might be affecting that is in the early years of webinars, a lot of people did their webinars live and then went to pre-recorded, but they didn't say that these webinars are now pre-recorded, and people got angry.
Yeah, they used to simulate the chat and all this.
So I think that's where that stems from.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
To be honest, I don't even know what the guidelines or terms of service for YouTube streaming are.
It's pretty much a free-for-all. Just make sure, if it's meant for kids, you say so, and if it's not meant for kids, say it's not meant for kids.
I
mean, that's about it.
This is not for kids, and only because I might inadvertently swear, and I don't want to swear.
And you don't play music. As long as
the music thing is
it catches that in a hurry.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube will catch copyrighted music. Facebook doesn't seem to care, and LinkedIn doesn't seem to care.
Instagram, TikTok definitely doesn't care.
Facebook, I noticed, has started to care, but YouTube's what I call YouTube's music machine catches on to hit music or copyrighted music, and it's so fast it'll make your head spin. It's quite shocking. Yeah. So I think that's really the only caveat that you've really got to watch out for is just don't use music.
Right.
Or if you are,
I appreciate that YouTube picks it up because I have no desire to use copyrighted music. It's really nice when they let you know. I was uploading something for a client and it pinged us, and I think she had been using it from a video editing software, did not know, right? Just had no idea, and then YouTube caught it. So I'd rather have that than somebody come after us. And this is, small company. It's not like they have deep pockets or, was just
Much
so much better
rather.
to have that heads up. And there's plenty of royalty-free music out there. This was just like a video intro, outro. It wasn't,
Right.
you know, the world's
I
most
do
important
find that
jingle.
royalty free sometimes does get caught if you go
Does.
over X number of seconds, because that happened to us a couple of
Yes.
times.
Maybe that's what this one was then, because she thought it was royalty-free, and then it wasn't.
It might have been
Might have been the
royalty
length of
free.
it.
Yeah. But every
I
once in a while,
was
it's like, wait a
too.
minute. I have
might-
this license, but they still ding you. And it's happened to my wife with her Mexican food blog. There's a lot
Not
of
only that,
royalty-free
in my
music.
earliest days with YouTube, I once like, you know, they give you some music that you can use.
Yeah.
Like YouTube gives it to you.
Yeah,
And
you
then I
could do
got a
that.
copyright claim from YouTube. For the
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I
That's
think
the crazy
you
stuff.
just told me to use this music because it's your music,
I
and now
know.
you're flagging me because it's not supposed to be using it. Like whatever.
Exactly.
So I think the smart thing is to not use music because over time things change. If you
John,
remember,
how am I going to have my snappy intros and outros without the music?
No,
Yeah,
you
it's
can
too
do it, but I
powerful.
think if
It's
they're
cool.
you can
if they're
still make
under
it
50, if
work.
they're 15 seconds or less, I've noticed it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. But
It
if you
doesn't
go for
matter.
like 3 minutes, we had a 2-minute intro one time.
That
and
won't
got
matter.
dinged.
Wow.
Yes.
It's
2
kind
minute
of
intro
like
is a log intro.
it's kind of
Well,
like
yeah,
the
but
old
we had a
days
lot
of
to do.
photos.
Yeah.
You know, you would put photos up on your website or you'd put photos up in different places. And then the next thing you know, Getty Images bought all the photos
Right.
and you were in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of the stuff that's going on with music now is much like what happened with photos then. And so it's best, I think, if unless you're using really short snippets or you had somebody create original music for you, in a lot of cases, I think it's best to just avoid music.
I mean, to me, this is an opportunity to give a shout out to the company I use, which is Epidemic Sound. Like I have no sponsors of any kind. I'm
Not to be confused with Pandemic Sound.
Epidemic Sound has been fantastic.
Pandemic.
The music,
Pandemic Sound.
and then like whitelisting to make sure you never get a copyright claim has been dead simple. So
What does that sound like? Pandemic sound.
Pandemic Sound is a little more viral. So
Oh my
it
goodness.
reduces your reach. It definitely reduces your reach to at least 6 feet or more.
Yeah.
So
social
But,
media.
but that's my take on what's going on with music right now. So
I mean, I actually have considered commissioning something from my distant cousin in Germany, Ingo Vogelmann, who is he's a music producer, composer, and DJ. And but that, I mean, I don't even know if you got something commissioned, if they would freak out about that too.
I had the same thing. I had a lot of, I live in the Boston area. So, I mean, I've got a lot of friends who went to school at Berkeley. They love making
School of Music
stuff all the time. And it's really no big deal. And, easy enough to ask one of them, hey, would you mind doing this or that for me? Or cut me some music snips. And they're happy to do it in a lot of cases.
Just hum a few bars.
No big deal to them at all. But
well, regardless, my November 30th event will not be on LinkedIn because it has to talk about LinkedIn and how we reach out to people on LinkedIn.
It is essential.
So I can't.
It's nice knowing you, LinkedIn.
It was nice knowing you.
Sorry.
See ya.
Back in December, but that is, of course, and Heather knows this too. This is one of the things we're thinking about is to just stop using LinkedIn Live.
Yeah.
Because it does tank like reach and distribution. For whatever reason, you're punished.
Yeah, unless
for using
you use it from within LinkedIn.
Unless you're going to use like the LinkedIn
or the
app.
stream keys.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it was? I needed to use the LinkedIn app.
Or the stream key and use.
I used the stream key.
Something connects. Oh.
I used Zoom with my stream key from Restream.
Yep.
Okay.
And it was crap.
Yep.
I mean, the distribution. It would be one thing if the LinkedIn Lives and their distribution was crap, but all the rest of my posts started to suffer as well. It just was such a discouragement to continue to use the platform. So I think it might be different. I have a small following, so it might be different if you have a larger following and you could maybe hit some critical mass or something like that. Might be a different experience. So I don't know that my experience is the same as everyone, but I would tell people who have a smaller following to watch your numbers, use it cautiously. I still haven't gotten back to where I was. I'm pretty close, but still haven't gotten back. And when was I doing that? Like spring or something? Like 6 months later?
So. You have been punished.
I have been punished.
Yes.
And it's not like there's anyone to complain to.
But for,
that's true.
right. Well, exactly. But for sure, stream key in that API.
There's a great warning sign that is hovering over the platform support page, of which we do not speak. And it says, due to high volume, it may take you a longer time than usual to reach support.
Yeah. Everybody put that message up during COVID, and nobody's taken it down.
Exactly.
No. And that's on purpose, because nobody wants to talk to anybody anymore.
Well, we'd like to talk to you and Dean.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
Heather.
it. Yeah.
Some of us like to
support.
chat.
We're our own little support.
But generally, it's just people just aren't as supportive
Well,
as
it
they
costs
used to
money.
be.
It costs money to talk to people.
It does cost money.
Yeah.
And as consumers, sometimes we are not on our best behavior when we are over the phone and ticked off. So
No,
it's not exactly the job position with the highest satisfaction of taking angry people's calls. So
Have you been watching me, Heather?
Are you really a customer? If you don't pay?
yeah, and are you a customer?
Do you have
if
a
don't
camera
pay?
somewhere on there?
I know that Heather, you would know the number for this. Like, what percentage of people? I'm curious about what percentage of people who have a LinkedIn account pay LinkedIn anything in any way. But I don't, and I'm sure you probably don't know that number either. But what percentage of people on LinkedIn actually create content?
4 or 5%, according to Richard Vanderblom's latest report that he released.
Okay.
I think it's gone up a little bit, but I think it's like 4 or 5%.
Wow, that's
45%.
4% out of 780 million people is a lot of people, but still, it's not very many people.
I would imagine TikTok's like around 1.5% or something. YouTube, it's very interesting because almost all the people who ever troll you are the ones who have 0 bits of content on their.
I saw this morning in a report that YouTube is has its own, just like Facebook or just like Instagram copied Snapchat, YouTube is copying TikTok. They had 1.5 billion people viewed a YouTube short last month.
Yeah, that's why I'm getting my greatest reach now, YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
So go long on Shorts. That's my advice.
Yes. That's our game plan. Yeah. Long on shorts.
Don't short the shorts.
I'm not sure
I still say it depends on the message you're communicating and what you're selling to.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm telling you, they're
likes and views is not necessarily doing good business.
That's true, but nevertheless, omnipresence is a great present from the,
and consistency
digital
is
universe.
key.
Yeah.
So it does certainly seem to help.
And I will tell you,
farm a lot of land, or you can drill an oil well. Neither one's better than the other, but it's a different approach, and usually one excludes the other.
Well, if you do sponsored posts or sponsored videos, brands definitely look at numbers. So the vanity metrics aren't necessarily vanity. In that case, they're actually putting food on your table. So
depends on the purpose. If broader distribution is your purpose, then impressions is not a vanity metric. It's key. But why do you want broader distribution in order to get what's the next thing?
Get eyeballs to your website where the ad revenue comes.
Right, and then really your KPI comes out of Google Analytics or how many visits you got from the social platform. So, but yeah, there are cases where the definition of a vanity metric depends on your business, 100%.
Right. So. But as we all know, based on cosmetic surgery, vanity sells.
It does.
Well, we're coming up on our half-hour mark of our 100th episode or 101st episode. So I just want to say thanks again to all of you for helping me out and coming on here and talking week after week after week. And when we come back in a week or two, it'll be different formats and different topics and a different goal all around, right? And the next goal is audience building as opposed to catalog creation and getting good at being live online and all that kind of stuff.
We'll be in talks.
Yeah, we'll have talks. We're in talks now.
In talks now.
We're in talks
at the negotiating table.
About the next step of taking over the world.
Yep.
World domination.
All right, folks. Have fun at Google Public together.
And thank you, Dean, for inviting me along for the ride. It's been great.
Fun.
I'm looking forward to what's next.
Yes.
Go Bills.
Thanks for asking me to get started, Dean.
All right.